Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and a certified emotion code practitioner. And I'm reading this book right now, A Different Drum by Scott Peck. Because it's talking about what kind of community we need to have in order to do formal consensus. And we just started this week. Well, last week we started on the Wednesday night group, which is meeting every other week right now. So it met this week, so it won't meet again until I believe September 13th, 6:30 to 8:30. I'll post it below. We're doing a nonviolent communication practice group there, and we had an amazing experience last week. Because what we decided to do was to just start where we share our experience, some kind of experience, maybe a conflict or something that we're having, and then the other members repeat back to us what we said, what they heard us say. And one person who was there had a conflict with another person who was there, and it was amazing to watch because that person shared their experience and their feelings, and the other person just listened, and we all listened, and then another person responded to that person, but the other person chose not to give their side of the story. But that's what we're gonna work towards, is if we have, if anybody has a conflict in the larger group, we're gonna eventually invite them to come to this NVC practice group and try to work it out, like have the first person share their experience, and then the other person or persons share their experience, and then we will either, a resolution may emerge from that experience itself, or we will pause for a week and come back and seek resolution through nonviolent communication. And it's interesting because I'm not really sure why certain people in the Signal social media chats have said that nonviolent communication is like constricting. I just think that that maybe they're not doing it correctly, because it wasn't restricting at all. It was kind of annoying to me personally, because it seems like in one sense we, the listeners, take responsibility for the verbalizers if they can't find their feelings. But it is kind. It's a kind and probably necessary currently thing to do right now, is to help. Like, let's say I said, I'm really upset about something or other. Then they might say, well, I really hear that you're upset about something or other, and that you'd like this person to express themselves more clearly to you about their needs. So in other words, the person who's listening is sort of intuitively sensing the unsaid subtext of what the person who is verbalizing is intending to say. And what was really cool about it was everybody was right on. And until we get to be fluent in our language of emoting and talking to each other truthfully, I think we're going to need to help each other this way. And it's probably really supportive for the community building and trust building that we're going to be needing to do formal consensus. Because eventually, after we become black belts in NVC, we're going to return to creating the principles for the group of formal consensus, using formal consensus, I mean. And we were in between writing our Constitution and nonviolence when we switched over to nonviolent communication to do the practice group. So I'm going to return to page 73 in this book and read a spirit. Community is a spirit. But this understanding of the spirit of community is profoundly misleading as well as dreadfully shallow when we're talking about community spirit, not a spirit. See, they're saying community is a spirit, not woohoo, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, community spirit, because they're saying that that is shallow. And I'm skipping some sentences here. I'm not reading the whole thing. I'm just gonna probably add to this. The members of a group who have achieved genuine community do take pleasure, even delight in themselves as a collective. They know they have won something together, collectively discovered something of great value, that they were onto something. But there the similarity ends. There is nothing competitive, for instance, about the spirit of true community. You know, it's interesting because recently I was involved in a community with some people that I thought were close friends of mine. This was quite shocking, actually. And as it turned out, there was a person that came in to the community and maybe wanted my spot or something. I'm not really sure, but they basically booted me out of the community using competition. And it was quite shocking. And now I know it wasn't true community. And I know this because we were using informal consensus, and it's been working for like almost a year, but because informal consensus in this day and age of what we're going through right now allows the personalities to come in, and the stronger personalities fight with each other, and the less dominating personalities are relegated to more silence. And so when there really is a conflict or something weird happens, like something weird happened in this situation, you discover that you really had pseudo community all along, and you were just, everybody was just getting along somehow in pseudo community, because there's no, there was no neutrality, and there was no facilitator to help us through that weirdness. And I got booted out of one of the communities that overlap with the other community because of certain people, personalities. So yeah, it was very educational for me. I got my feelings hurt pretty bad, and I had to really take a look at what I've been up to and stuff. And it's just this is the way things are right now, is that people are crazy. There's like a crazy, maybe they feel confined or something like that, and then they have to act out in order to shake things up or something. I don't really know, but it's not the spirit that I want to have in any community that I'm in. So it says there is nothing competitive, for instance, about the spirit of true community. To the contrary, a group possessed by a spirit of competitiveness is, by definition, not a community. Competitiveness is always exclusive, and genuine community is inclusive. So in this situation, there was just this one person, it seemed like, who wanted to be at the top of the heap, and maybe saw me as being near the top of the heap. So they just kicked me out. They just like played divide and conquer somehow, and I got shut out. And to me, that's competition, you know. It's not inclusive. It's not in the spirit of fun and in the spirit of let's all get along. It's like divisive, and it's exclusive. If community has enemies, it has begun to lose the spirit of community. If it ever had it in the first place, the spirit of true community is the spirit of peace. People in the early stages of a community building workshop will frequently ask, how will we know when we are a community? It is a needless question. When a group enters community, there is a dramatic change in spirit, and the new spirit is almost palpable. There is no mistaking it. No one who has experienced it need ever ask again, how will we know when we are in a community? Nor will one ever question that it is the spirit of peace that prevails when a group enters community. An utterly new quietness descends on the group. People seem to speak more quietly, yet strangely their voices seem to carry better through the room. There are periods of silence, but it is never an uneasy silence. Indeed, the silence is welcomed. It feels tranquil. Nothing is frantic anymore. The chaos is over. It is as if noise had been replaced by music. The people listen and can hear. It is peaceful. The spirit is slippery. It does not submit itself to definition, to capture, the way material things do. So it is that a group in community does not always feel peaceful in the usual sense of the word. Its members will from time to time struggle with each other and struggle hard. The struggle may become excited and exuberant with little, if any, room for silence, but it is a productive, not a destructive struggle. That's how I know that this wasn't a community, because this was a destructive struggle. It was not constructive. It was not about the highest good of all concerned. It was about some weird, unknown at the moment thing that happened, which I may never know, and I don't really care, honestly. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me again, shame on me. Forgive, but don't forget. That's my motto. These days. I mean, that doesn't mean I can't be in community. This was what was really interesting about the nonviolent communication, was that I could see that we could remain in community, but I wouldn't have to like everyone in the community. Like, I could have a thing with somebody in the community and use nonviolent communication to express our feelings about it, and not actually have to make up in order to continue to be in community. And that's great. I mean, that's wonderful, because I don't want to have to conform and throw my principles out the window just to be friends with people that I don't know that have the capability of being friends, real friends, but we can still be in community together. And that is, to me, very important. Like, that we don't have to kick anybody out for being not where we are, because there is no authority under natural law. So there has to be a way for people of different levels of spiritual growth to be able to coexist together and not necessarily have to, you know, love each other, you know, friends wise, but we can love each other as brothers and sisters and just keep our distance. Let's see. The struggle may become excited and exuberant with little, if any, room for silence, but it is a productive, not a destructive struggle. It always moves towards consensus. He's not talking about formal consensus, but I am talking about formal consensus right now, because that's where we're at. We really need that structure of formal consensus until we relearn how to trust each other, because it is always a loving struggle. It takes place on a ground of love. The spirit of community is inevitably the spirit of peace and love. And that, brings up, we were at the, what's now called the Boulder Groove Fest today. And this lady came, somebody I'd never seen before. And she was interested in the barter currency, which we are still offering the barter currency, but people don't have to use the barter currency now. They can, do whatever they want. And they can vend, for 100% USD or whatever, however they want to do it. But this person wanted to know about barter. And I could see in her heart the fear and distrust of other people that has been instilled by the globalists, that, so effectively through social media, television, whatever. Because she wanted, it was weird, like what she wanted. She wanted something that we can't provide, that isn't provided by USD or any other currency, but she wanted it to be provided by our currency, which is basically, I think what she wanted was a guarantee that the product was an honest product. I mean, our products are going to be a lot more honest than the ones you buy in from China. You know what I mean? Like, our products backed by the labor hours that we spend on them are going to be more honest and verifiable than products made by slaves. I mean, of course, we're all slaves right now, because as above, so below, and if one suffer, all suffer. But we have a little bit more choice here right now. And so, but it just revealed to me like the level of trauma and fear that people are still incredibly suffering from. And that's why, like, we have to have formal consensus in decision making right now until we can come into real love, what he's talking about, real peace and real love. Like, we're not there right now because we've gone through so much trauma, and whether we like it to believe it or not, we've bought into it in a certain way. Like, we believe a lot of it, and a lot of it has, just because, like, there's people who are willing to get paid to be crisis actors and go from crisis to crisis and get paid. And, we've seen their photographs as the same victims in different PSYOP shootings or whatever. The fact that we have people like that in society right now, and there's like a lot of them right there, that creates extreme fear and distrust of each other, unfortunately. But anyway, the atmosphere of love and peace is so palpable that almost every community member experiences it as a spirit. Hence, even the agnostic and atheist members will generally report a community building workshop as a spiritual experience. How this experience is interpreted, however, is highly variable. Those with a secular consciousness tend to assume that the spirit of community is no more than a creation of the group itself. And beautiful though it may be, they will leave it at that. Most Christians, on the other hand, tend toward a more complicated understanding. And I mean, I don't like to just say Christians. I mean, I'm not your typical Christian person, but I do have a reliance upon the creator of the universe. And I consider group experience a spiritual experience. So I think there's like a wider range than there was when he wrote this book, probably. In the latter frame of reference, the spirit of community is not envisioned as a purely human spirit or one created solely by the group. It is assumed to be external to and independent of the group. It therefore is thought of as descending upon the group, just as the Holy Spirit is said to have descended upon Jesus at his baptism in the form of a dove. This does not mean, however, that the Spirit's visitation is accidental or unpredictable. It can fall upon and take root only in fertile, prepared ground. That's what we're doing with NVC. We're fertilizing and preparing the ground. Thus, for those of Christian orientation, the work of community building is seen as a preparation for the descent of the Holy Spirit. The spirit of community is a manifestation of the Holy Spirit. This does not mean that community is solely a Christian phenomenon. I have seen community develop among Christians and Jews, Christians and atheists, Jews and Muslims, Muslims and Hindus, and whoever. I mean, this is a book I'm reading. You know, I don't agree with this. I think anybody pretty much can, if we have a desire for freedom, for all, then that could be the authority. Under natural law could be the authority. It doesn't matter what you call it. People of any religious persuasion or none, whatever, can develop community. Nor does it mean that a belief in Christianity is a guarantee of community. I'm not going to read this stuff. This is going to get weird here. On the other hand, I'm not going to read this. This is going to get into that whole Christian thing, which I don't want to get into, where you all know what I don't want to get into all that. You know, that's about the converting part, where everybody wants to convert others to their thing. So let's not get into all that. Let me see what else it says here. I am going to read this. The doctrine of the Trinity of 3 in 1. And I'm going to translate that into thoughts, emotions, and actions. That is also a Trinity. The doctrine of the Trinity. That thoughts, emotions, and actions also create the same spirit. Like if my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions are equal, that will create a spirit of spirituality, higher level action. Because so, for example, let's say, just for a minute, that behind the concept of Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit is actually thoughts being the Father, emotions being the Holy Spirit, and actions being the Son. If those are all equal, if my thoughts and my emotions equal my actions, like in other words, my actions are not in conflict with my emotions, and therefore my actions are in opposition to my thoughts. If it's a Trinity, my thoughts and my emotions are parallel, and therefore my actions are a result. They are the sum of the combination of my thoughts and my emotions. That would lead to a spiritual experience and community. He's talking about this in the Christian thing, but okay, the wisdom of a true community often seems miraculous. The wisdom can perhaps be explained in purely secular terms as a result of the freedom of expression, the pluralistic talents, the consensual decision-making that occur in community. There are times, however, when this wisdom seems, to my religious side, to be more a matter of divine spirit and possible divine intervention. This is one of the reasons why the feeling of joy is such a frequent concomitant of the spirit of community. The members feel that they have been temporarily, at least partially, transported out of the mundane world of ordinary preoccupations. For the moment, it is as if heaven and earth had somehow met. That's the hope. That's the hope that we are going to have, you know, maybe in our Wednesday every other week group, leading to our, what we're now calling the Boulder Groove Fest once a month, and whatever else we end up doing together. as we continue to progress down this path.